Welcome to the Gita in Action podcast. My name's Radha, and I'm here with our family of seekers. We're reading through the Gita verse by verse, going on a journey of self-transformation, really, transformation of the heart. And speaking of transformation of the heart, we just wrapped up chapter 9, which is such a potent chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. It's called the most confidential knowledge. And today we're going to do a chapter 9 summary overview. So we're going to just breeze through the meaning of all the verses so that we see how the chapter flows and what it's really trying to tell us. So that's what we're doing today. And before I start, Shakti's back. Shakti, do you want to say our prayers for us? No problem if not. No rush. Stella can do it this morning if you weren't ready. Oh, you're on mute, Shakti. Still on mute. Okay.
Okay. Om Jnana Timirandasya Yananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Mano Bishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kara Mayam Danati Sva Pandati Kam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Parakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tasajivam Sadvaitam Savabhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakans Vitam Cha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagat Pate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kancha Garungi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Prananami Hari Priye Franchakalpa Turubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavembhyo Vaishnavyo Namo Namaha Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasari Guru Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare.
So nice. Thank you, Shakti.
Thank you for allowing me to serve.
Mm. Okay, so yeah, we're doing a chapter 9 summary review. And let's see. Like I said, chapter 9 is titled The Most Confidential Knowledge. And what Krishna's saying here, what we learn about Krishna in this verse, we really get to know him on this personal, lovable level. He's not just a cosmic force. He's not just one of the gods. He's like the God, and he's personal and he's lovable and he wants relationship with us. And this is kind of what chapter 9 is all about, like really revealing his identity and the path to him. So it's really personal and it's not for everybody. It's not for everyone. And that's actually, we'll go right into the first verse. That's what we learn in the first verse. Or when Krishna says to Arjuna, he says, Arjuna, because you're never envious of me, I'm going to tell you this most confidential knowledge. And this is so beautiful because Krishna's not saying, I'm telling you this because you're so smart, or I'm telling you this because you've earned it. He says, I'm telling you this because your heart is clean, because you're not envious of me. And this is a real point, a really important one, a nice opening up to the chapter, because devotion and envy can't live in the same heart. Devotion means I love Krishna's greatness, his beauty, his compassion, his power. Envy means I resent his greatness. Like, why does he get to be the center? I want to be the center. Okay, so this is the qualification for even being able to receive this knowledge. Krishna is basically saying, if you're envious of me, you actually can't even receive this because you'll distort it. So this is the opening of the chapter. It gives us this qualification to receive this knowledge. And then in the next verse, in 9:2, Krishna starts piling on the superlatives. He says this knowledge is the king of education, the most confidential, the purest, and it's joyfully performed. And the reason that he's talking like this is because he really wants us to understand that bhakti is not a burden. It's not dry. It's not just about following rules. No. Bhakti is joyful and it's transformational. It totally changes your life. So he's really setting us up here at the beginning, in this beginning section, the greatness of bhakti. And if you want to follow along in a Gita as we just kind of go through the verses, that could help too. Because I'm not going to read them, but I'll just go through kind of the meaning so we can see the progression and how this chapter is really delivering this most confidential knowledge. Okay, so then in 9:3, it's like a reality check here. Krishna's saying, if someone doesn't have faith in this devotional service, then they won't attain me. That they're going to get stuck in the cycle of birth and death. So another thing that's super important to really imbibe this knowledge, have a non-envious, clean heart, and we have to have faith in the process. We have to have faith in the process. And again, this isn't a threat. It's just a consequence. He's just setting it up for us. He's telling us what's required. It's just like medicine. If you don't believe the medicine works, you won't take it. And if you don't take it, then the disease is going to continue. And this isn't because the doctor's punishing you, but it's because you didn't use the cure. So this is Krishna setting the stage for us. He's telling us this chapter is a cure, but you have to be willing to receive it. So this is like the precursor to entering the chapter. It's like the front porch. We're starting to enter here. And he tells us the prerequisites. Okay, so then he's going to shift gears. So now we're getting into this next section, chapter or verse 4 through 10, where Krishna's talking about his relationship with the material world. So it starts in 9:4, and he starts with again this section is about his relationship with the material world, and this is important because this is where many people first start to even think about God at all. Because you look at the world, you look at its mystery, its beauty, its power, and something in you goes like, okay, where did all this come from? This sense of awe can wake up an appreciation for the Creator. And we can all probably think of places that we've been in our lives. I think of places like the Grand Canyon or like Glacier National Park or even some places just like the ocean, where it's just like so grand and so beautiful. And you just know there's more to life than just like random particles coming together. Like there is some kind of supreme intelligence behind all of this. And so in 9:4, Krishna says, in my unmanifested form, I pervade this entire universe. So he says he pervades everything through his energy. Everything is Krishna. Everything is Krishna. Like the Brahma Jyoti, like his spiritual potency. And then also as Paramatma, as God in the heart, Krishna is present in every living being. So Krishna pervades everything. And in the second part of 9:4, he says, all beings are in me, but I am not in them. All beings are in me, but I am not in them. And then in the next verse, in 9:5, he says something that kind of sounds like the opposite. He says, everything that is created does not rest in me. So at this point, we're kind of like, okay, Krishna, which is it? And what Krishna's showing us here is that this isn't a contradiction, but this is his inconceivability. He's showing us that everything depends on him, but he doesn't depend on anything. This is kind of amazing. because most of us here have dependents, it depends, but we also are dependent. But Krishna's saying everything depends on him, but he doesn't depend on anything. He's present everywhere. He's present in that ocean. He's present in that mountain. He's present in that volcano, but he's not limited by anything. It's amazing. He's involved, but he's not entangled. Like a judge. He sets up the karmic system. The karmic system is what it is, and he oversees it, but he doesn't get emotionally entangled in it. And this is like unreal. If you remember, we talked about how emotionally entangled we get when we're in charge. For the little tiny things that we maintain, how emotionally entangled we get. Our houses, our families, our jobs, whatever it is that we're maintaining in this life. We get very attached. We get very entangled. Krishna's above all of that. Everything depends on him. He maintains everything. He controls everything. He creates everything. Yet, he doesn't depend on anything. He's completely unentangled. It's like inconceivable for us. Even if you think you're pretty detached. Even if you think you're pretty detached, Krishna's level of involvement but non-entanglement is unparalleled. So then in 9:6, he gives us this gorgeous image. He says, just like the mighty wind moves everywhere, but always rests in the sky, all living beings rest in Krishna. It's beautiful, right? Everything is moving within him, within his shelter, within his energy. It's like we're totally taken care of. And then in 9:7 and 9:8, Krishna basically says, at the end of the cosmic cycle, everything dissolves back into me. At the beginning of the next cycle, by my potency, I create it again. This is kind of amazing. And we see here how the Gita is kind of progressing in its level of realization because in chapter 8, we talked about the cosmic cycles. If we remember, we talked about the cosmic cycles, and Krishna's intention there was really to show us just how temporary everything is. And he was just saying, like, even the highest material thing, like even Brahma's world is temporary, it's going to end. But here in chapter 9, Krishna's taking us a step further, and he's saying, let me tell you who is behind this cycle. Okay, it's not random, it's not chaotic. This creation, maintenance, dissolution, it all happens under his will. This is again amazing. This is like Krishna's supreme position. It's unparalleled. And then we get to 9:9 and 9:10. And this is where Krishna says that all this work, it doesn't bind me. I'm detached as though neutral, just like that judge. He's not partial. Actually, we learned in this chapter, he's partially impartial. So his love's available for everybody, relationships available for everybody. But if you endeavor towards Krishna, then he just scoops you up and holds you like a little baby. Okay, but here what we're learning in 9:9 and 9:10 is that he doesn't get bound. He isn't pulled around by karma like we are. We have to understand material nature runs under his supervision. Okay, he's higher. He's like the king. Okay, he's not governed by all the laws and rules of society. We are. We're bound by karma. Okay? But Krishna's not. And and Krishna's not sitting there like, "Oh, you annoyed me, so I'm going to punish you." This isn't how Krishna works. Karma is a system. Krishna created the system, and then he supervises it. Supervises it, but he's not emotionally entangled in it. So we're kind of setting up the lay of the land here. And if we had to summarize this section in just one sentence, this section 4 through 10, we'd say Krishna's everywhere, but he's untouched. Everything depends on him, but he's free. It's beautiful. Now we're like going through we went through the front porch and now we're starting to get into the house a little bit. He's starting to kind of reveal who he is. But now in the next section, he's going to get really personal. Before we move on to the next section, does anybody have any reflections they'd like to share here? Okay. Okay, so we'll move on to the next section. Section verse 11 through 14. So here we're talking about different or two, okay, 11 through 14 we're talking about two ways people see Krishna. So after Krishna explains his greatness, he says in 9:11 he says fools deride me when I descend in the human form. And what he's saying here is, Krishna, he comes in a human-like form. He smiles, he jokes, he walks, he talks. He drives Arjuna's chariot, and people just assume like, oh, he's ordinary. But Krishna's telling us here, just because something looks ordinary doesn't mean that it's ordinary. Right? And then in 9:12, he then explains further what happens when someone misunderstands God. He's saying their hopes for liberation get defeated. Their knowledge doesn't even bring clarity. Their work doesn't even satisfy. And not because their work is bad, not because their knowledge is bad, but because the center is wrong. Because the center is wrong. Krishna has to be at the center, and we have to understand that God is supreme, that he's not an ordinary person. Even though he may appear in as an ordinary person in an ordinary body, he's not. So he's just establishing that. And then in verse 9:13, we get to this beautiful part where he describes, people who don't accept God, and he describes what happens to them. And then he describes like the gold standard, the Mahatma, the great soul. And what he says here, he's not saying, no, they're so impressive, like they're so smart, they're so qualified. That's and the material standards, that's who we tend to like really have a lot of awe and reverence for, right? They're really beautiful. They're really athletic. No, Krishna's defining a great soul. He's saying they're under divine nature. So a Mahatma, it's someone whose inner orientation has changed. So they're no longer under the control of material nature. We talked about the karmic system that we're all bound to. Mahatma, they're no longer under the control of material nature. They're above it. They're under divine nature. They've allowed themselves to just become pure instruments of God because they have no selfish desire. All they desire in this world is just to be in this world and even out of this world. It's just to be connected to God, to just be in loving service to God. That's a Mahatma. And because that's their only desire, they're they're pure instruments of God. They're just controlled by divine nature, not material nature. They're above it. And then so that's their internal disposition. And then in 9:14, Krishna talks about what this looks like outwardly. So this person, they're always chanting, they're always worshiping, they're always bowing down. It's just devotion. It's not just a feeling that like a wave of inspiration that comes sometimes and then leaves and they're back in the wave of the ocean of material existence. No, it's like this devotion, it's their life. That steadiness, it doesn't flicker. It's just there because they're just that connected. So this is the gold standard. So then we get to the next section, 9:15 through 9:19. And this is when Krishna, we hear all these I statements, I am the sacrifice, I am the Vedas, I am your friend. He starts expanding the lens of who he is. So in the previous verse, Krishna spoke about the Mahatmas, the great souls, those who clearly understand who God is and surrender to him with this undivided devotion. But between this level of complete surrender and no understanding at all, there's this whole spectrum of God consciousness. And so in this section, God's revealing this to us. This verse, in this verse, in 9:15, he's introducing this spectrum. And then in this section, this spectrum gets elaborated on in more detail. But what he says here, he describes three distinct conceptions of the absolute truth. And we can think of this as kind of a progression in God realization. So the worship of the universal form, seeing the rivers, seeing as his veins, seeing as it's like it's seeing nature and connecting it to God. And then the worship of the demigods, understanding, okay, there's some kind of intelligence to this, there's a higher power in control, and recognizing the different posts, the managerial post of the cosmic arrangement. And then this realization of that I am a part of God. I'm qualitatively one with God, and God is everywhere. God is this oneness, this conception of oneness. Okay, so this is like a progression. And then in this section, like I said, Krishna starts revealing himself further with all these I am statements. So he says, I am the ritual, I am the sacrifice, I am the offering, I am the mantra. And again, we see the shift overall in the Gita because earlier we heard language like everything is Brahman, but now Krishna's saying that Brahman that you're talking about, that spiritual essence that you're talking about, that's me. So he's just getting deeper and deeper into his personal realization. What was once understood impersonally, he's now revealing personally. And this is why this section, this chapter of the Gita, chapter 9, the most confidential knowledge, it really starts to kind of pull at our heartstrings because it's taking everything that we've learned and just bringing it to a really personal level. And then in 918, it's so tender. Krishna says, I'm the goal, I'm the witness, I'm the refuge, and I'm the most dear friend. And this is so sweet because Krishna is saying, everything you've been searching for, shelter, home, love, meaning, this all exists in me. This is so reassuring. And we've all been looking for that, the love of my life. Right? This is Krishna. This is Krishna. We just aren't seeing it. And then in 919, he adds a harder truth, a little bit more difficult to digest. He says, I am immortality. I am also death. Meaning that Krishna is not only present in the sweet parts of life, but he's present in the painful parts too. Painful. And this should give us an appreciation for just how great he is. For all the incredible technological advances that we have these days. Nobody has learned or figured out how to conquer death. People like to fake it. People like to fake it. I just saw a commercial for like Botox the other day. Doing everything to themselves to like make it look like they're not walking closer to the end, to the end of their material body. But the reality is that we all are, and there's not really anything we can do to prevent that. That in itself is kind of amazing. Can be sad to the degree we're, attached to our bodies, but also is like, wow, that's pretty amazing. Stella, you want to share with us?
Yeah, it's funny you say that because the in the New York Times, the Sunday New York Times yesterday, they had an article about that your longevity in your body is mostly due to genetics. Like you could do all the stuff, the healthy stuff, as if but if your genetics say around 80, it's going to be around 80, you know, and some people go to 100 and it's not because they did anything right. It's just that particular body. But what really struck me in the the scientists actually said what we often hear in ISKCON kind of like the body is like a car. Well, so the
Mm.
scientist said some people have a Mercedes car and some people have a Yugo, like, and I
Wow.
was like, wow, that's so Krishna conscious, like the body is just the car, not the driver. And
Yeah.
anyway, it brought that up and I was just like, wow, I wonder if that scientist had gotten a book somewhere with that. I don't know. It just
Yeah.
but also that there's nothing we can do about it. It's locked into our genes. Like the body itself, there's no way to avoid death. It's
Mm,
genetically programmed.
yeah.
I mean, that's the way we were created. But and it's
Really?
it's funny. Even in other ages, if you live to 1,000 or live to 10,000, same genetics, right around the year 10,000. Like
Yeah,
might be 8,000 instead of 10, but
right.
no matter what age, we still have to die. Anyway, I'm sorry to.
No, don't be sorry. That's so interesting. The karmic the karmic map is so layered too, because even that's our karma. Our genetics are our karma. We like to believe that like we're short-sighted, so we say, okay, whatever I do in this life is gonna control the destiny of my body. But really, this has been going on for lifetimes, and the body you have now is based off of your karma. It's a result of your stockpile of karmic credits. And what you do in this life can maybe have some impact, but we have to take into account that huge pile of karmic credits that we came in with, or that negative balance. And yeah, this is what I love about Vedic philosophy is it's like just such a detailed system. You can say like it answers why you can go 100 layers deep, and it's so detailed. It's not random. Nothing's random. It's really amazing in that way. Thank you. Thanks, Stella. Shakti.
Hare Krishna. I just wanted to share on that topic, like, no, there isn't anything that I can like my karma is my karma. But what, and I know I'm gonna die, and I know it's gonna happen when it happens, and so like my friend just I think I shared on here, my friend passed away 53, like out of nowhere. But obviously there was already her path was already glued in. But what I think about when instead of thinking of it that way, I think about, okay, the soul that came into this world with me in my body, not my physical body, the soul, right? That just sort of shining through maybe, that I can change. That I can leave, when I leave this world, I can leave my soul in a better condition by coming to temples, chanting rounds, you know, uh, giving, being the servant of the servant of the servant. Those things, like things that you're doing, those things we can change. I can, so whoever gets my soul, it might be a dog, might be a person, whoever it is, whatever it is, I know that at least and I'm also giving myself a better quality of life because
Mm,
I'm getting out of the you know that whole jealous envy, that all of that just really kind of made this crazy. And I'm kind
mm,
of, when I feel anxiety, I get out of here and I go to here,
mm.
and I just stand on my 2 feet and I ground. And it's like that's what I think about. So like, yes, that is something that we know, but knowing, like, like when you and I were chatting yesterday, like she was talking about all these, just different services that she was running from this one to that one. And it's like, when we do things like that, we offer our soul back to Krishna and
Mm.
to wherever it's going in such a better conditioning. And how beautiful is that? That we have a power over.
Wow. That's a beautiful realization, Shakti. It's that we there's no loss in spiritual life. All that spiritual progress we've made, it goes with us, even though the body is finished. And if we're not actually changing the soul, what we're doing is we're cleaning off the conditioning of the mind. We're cleaning with all of these practices, with service. And the mind is the mechanism by which the consciousness of the soul shines through. So if the mind is cloudy, the consciousness of the soul is distorted. And when our soul goes to the next body, the subtle body travels with the soul. So in this way, we're giving that soul where more opportunity for to shine clearly, to shine through purely, because we're cleaning off the dust that's all over the mind from years of conditioning.
Yeah,
And
when I was
that's what this service
talking about
does.
it
Yeah.
yesterday, someone said, I don't need to say who, but they said, because that New Vrindavan is it's like a very intense situation here when you come, and not, it's not intense for any reason. It just has this energy of like, and like yesterday I was crying because I was sitting in Prabhupada's room practicing the mridanga, and I was just like emotional, and it just like was coming up, and I was talking to someone, and they said, yeah, that's, your soul is being cleansed.
Hmm.
It's
The
like,
mind is
so,
being cleansed. Mhm.
right. Or so mind is being cleansed.
Your
And
soul is already clean. It's pure.
so, yeah, so the mind is being cleansed so that the soul can, I don't know why, but the mind is being cleansed. I mean, you say it
Yeah.
better than I do.
No, it's perfect. It's a beautiful realization. Thank you, Shakti. Such a sincere soul. Such a sincere soul. Beautiful discussion. Thank you all. I like to break it up so it's not just me talking the whole time. So nice. Okay, so now we're getting to the next section, 920 through 925, where Krishna talks about why not all worship gives the same result. So in verses 20 and 21, Krishna talks about people who perform Vedic rituals to reach heaven. And he's not mocking them. Again, he's just describing the system. They earn a higher destination. They enjoy this celestial pleasure. But we talked about this too. What happens then? If we do good things in this life, we get a nice stockpile of good karmic credits. We go to higher planets, we get to spend those. It's like an arcade. You get all these credits. You get to go to the, I don't know what they call that, gift shop. I don't think that's what they call it, but prize counter, get and exchange all your credits for these super pleasurable, exciting things. This is what these higher planets are like. But just like at an arcade, you run out of credits, you don't get to buy anything else. This is what happens in these higher planets too. They the reality hits, they run out of credits, and they have to go back. They have to go back to where they came from to earn more. Yeah. So Krishna talks about that kind of system a little bit, because this is what happens when you're just in the karmic system, doing good things, getting good credits, then you get to spend them, but ultimately you're still just in this karmic system. You're bound by the laws of this karmic system. So then in 922, there's a contrast. Krishna says, people who worship me with exclusive devotion. This is such a beautiful verse. This is one of the, like, if you're going to remember a few verses from 922, try to remember this one. He says, I carry what they lack and preserve what they have. I carry what they lack and preserve what they have. 922. Krishna is saying that when someone is sincerely absorbed in devotion to me, to him, he doesn't stay distant or passive. He steps in. He takes personal responsibility for their well-being. What they need, what they have, what they're trying to protect or grow in their spiritual life. Krishna's taking over. This is such like a sigh of relief. Such a sigh of relief. We don't have to worry so much. We don't have to be in anxiety of, can I get all of this done? Is there going to be time? Is this going to be stressful? No, we just do our best, and Krishna will carry what we lack and preserve what we have. This is like my service mantra. Because sometimes I have so much going on and I'm starting to feel a little like, oh, is this event going to go okay? Am I prepared for this? And at the end of the day, it's just like, okay, Krishna, whatever you want to happen here, carry and preserve, because this is beyond my capacity. But if we can lean into this promise that Krishna makes us, to the degree we can lean into it, we'll see it manifesting in our lives. And in this way, we'll build faith. So this is a really beautiful verse, 922. And when we talked about this verse, if you remember, we talked about what we have is 1%. We have is 1%. But what Krishna will come in and do for us, this is 99%. It's like 99% of the equation. So you just give our 1% because that's all we really have. But Krishna will come in and arrange things. So we don't have to worry. So then in 23 and 24, Krishna explains that even demigod worship is indirect worship of him. So he's saying they're sincere, it's a step along the way, if you're worshiping the demigods, but in a wrong way, meaning that it just doesn't lead to full understanding. Better just to go directly to the source. This is and seek relationship. Go directly to the source and seek relationship. But it's a step along the way because you're still acknowledging that there's some kind of higher power. There's some kind of higher control than just your own authority. So it is a step along the way in spiritual realization, but it's not the end. We talked about false plateaus. Anybody who's ever been hiking up a mountain and like got to a false plateau and you're like, I'm there, this is so great. And then you look up and you're like, oh no. I used to hike up a lot of mountains and I remember this pretty clearly. So this is demigod worship. We're just not quite there. And then in 925, he makes this point really clear. He says, basically, you go where your worship goes. Your worship determines your destination. And this verse is a direct contradiction to the idea that all paths lead to the same goal, because that's not necessarily true. They could be paths could lead in the same direction or raise your consciousness, but they're not necessarily going to bring you to the very same place because where it's bringing you is dependent on your state of consciousness. So in this way, different paths lead to different results. So in the direction of goodness, a lot of them are in the direction of goodness, but not necessarily the exact same result. Then this brings us to the next verse that is one to remember. So we're going to remember 922, right? Carry what you lack, preserve what you have. 926 is just like a heart of bhakti verse. This is the verse where he says that he'll accept a leaf, a flower. If you offer me a leaf, a flower, a fruit, or water with love, I accept it. This is what he says here. And what we learn here is that Krishna's not hungry. Krishna's not poor. Krishna's not impressed by expensive offerings. He responds to love and sincerity. That's what he's looking for. He's looking for your heart. So he's saying, with whatever you have, offer it to me, but do it with love and sincerity. And in this way, he's making devotion accessible to everyone, whether you're rich or poor, educated or uneducated. Like there's no material qualification for devotion. He's just looking for your heart, just an orientation of the heart. And then in 27 and 28, this is like the lifestyle version of this verse. He says, whatever you do, whatever you eat, whatever you offer, do it as an offering to me. He's just saying, bring me into your life as it is. Wherever you are, bring me into your life. And the result is that you're freed from karma, both good and bad. So that whole karmic system, you also go beyond it. You're free from it. Because even good karma, we talked about, still binds you to the material world. So really, we as devotees, we want to get out completely. We just want to be in loving service to God. We don't want to be pulled by our desires, what's good and what's bad. We want to operate on a higher plane than that. So this offering of everything in your life, it will liberate you. We're around in the corner. We're at the finish line here. We're just like coming to this home base. Home plate. Is that what it is? Man, I don't watch sports enough. We're around in the corner. This is the finish line. So, and now in this final section, 929, 934, in 929, Krishna says, this is like this last section is really just like Krishna's mercy on display. That's what we're seeing here. It's just how powerful and potent and vast Krishna's mercy is. So this is in 929, the verse I was talking about a little earlier in class here, when he says, I'm equal to everyone, but whoever serves me in devotion is my friend. So he's impartially partial. Everybody has the opportunity. But if you reach out, Krishna reciprocates. He's a reciprocal God. He's not biased, but he's just saying that love creates relationship. So this is personal. And then in 930, this is a really reassuring verse. This is when he says that if someone commits an abominable action, if they do something really bad, if they are engaged in devotional service, they should still be considered saintly. And this is kind of like, whoa. When I first came into spiritual life, this was a difficult one for me to digest. Because I also came from a Christian background where it was like, if people are doing bad things, they're not good people. But as devotees, we have to see deeper than that. And what Krishna's doing here, he's not endorsing bad behavior, but he's describing the reality that a person can have two things going on at once. They can be fighting their conditioning, their habits, their trauma, their modes, and they have a constitutional identity. They have a soul who wants Krishna. So it's just that their mind, like we were talking about earlier, is just completely, if it's completely covered. I mean, there's a layer of dirt on it that is so thick, it's like mud. And then it's like dried mud. And then it's like frozen. Okay. So it's like their soul, it's having a hard time shining through. But that doesn't mean that their soul is any less part of Krishna. And a person can genuinely love Krishna and still struggle with conditioning. So we have to still see them as saintly because, they may not be perfect, but they're determined and they don't give up on Krishna. They don't blame the bhakti path. They don't leave the path. So they're still trying. They fall down, but that relationship is still there. And because that relationship is still there, Krishna never gives up on us. If we are still endeavoring, it's only a matter of time before Krishna will just like will just punch through that hard frozen mud, and the whole thing will just fall away. So this will happen because they're still connected to Krishna and they're still desiring that, even though their conditioning is getting the best of them. So it might be a little bit hard to see from the outside. And then in 931, Krishna says, "My devotee never perishes." He says, "My devotee never perishes." So this is beautiful. Devotion it's not defined by never slipping. Again, it's defined by the direction of the heart. This is such a merciful section. Don't forget this, 29 through 34, the very end of the 9th chapter. We're just seeing how merciful God is. A genuine devotee is not someone who never makes mistakes. A genuine devotee, it's someone who keeps Krishna in their heart and keeps returning again and again, keeps allowing themselves to be purified by the process. Some of us come in and we have just a super thick layer of mud, clouding our mind. Some of us come in and it's very light. It's just like a little dusting. But if in our heart of hearts we desire relationship with Krishna, regardless of our starting point, that thick layer of mud or that little dust, it will be cleaned. Krishna will purify us by this process. So he's saying, don't abandon the path even during weakness. He will never give up on you. That's what he's saying here. He'll never give up on you. Even if you mess up and you think it's like the worst mistake in the world, maybe it is. Krishna will not give up on you. If you continue to have faith, if you continue to desire that. So this is like our lifeline. Okay, don't always remember, never forget. You can never be too dirty to take the medicine. You can never be too sick to take the medicine. And then this in the next verse, this is where Krishna says that verse we talked about says, even those that society would say just have too many obstacles to spiritual life, to have too many obstacles to spiritual life, or start with just too thick of layers of mud on their mind, clouding the ability for the soul's consciousness to shine through. Even those people are not disqualified. Again, it doesn't matter. from where you start. Bhakti can it's like a superpower. Bhakti could just like it could break through anything. It's like the greatest cleaner. I mean, you see all these commercials for cleaners. It goes through all the grime. Look at this. Look at what it looked like before. No, Bhakti is like the greatest one. It doesn't matter from where you start. How much gunk is on there. It doesn't matter. This is Krishna's mercy, and he doesn't want us to forget this. And then we get to 934, the final verse of the chapter, Krishna's final invitation. So we should remember 922, Krishna preserves what we have and carries what we lack. 926, we can offer him a flower, a leaf, a fruit with love, and he'll accept it. 934. These are three great verses to remember in this chapter. This is his final invitation. This is the essence of the essence of the essence of the essence of all Vedic literature. He says, think of me, become my devotee, offer obeisances, worship me. Surely you will come to me. So offer your mind, your body, your heart to me, and you will come to me, he says. So he's not asking for cold intellectual thinking. He's asking for the kind of thinking that lets him matter to you. Show me that Krishna matters in your life. Show me that I matter in your life. It's not just something that you do on Sundays. It's not just something that you think of now and then when you're in trouble or crisis. No, this is a relationship. And not just a relationship, but this is the closest relationship in your life. This is what Krishna wants from us. Krishna wants our hearts. And this is how this chapter ends. So if you have to summarize this chapter in one sentence, it's Krishna's the God of love. And he allows himself to be conquered by those who love him. So in this chapter, he's saying, don't settle for indirect relationship. Don't settle for temporary results. Come close. Come home. This is the final message of this chapter. And on Thursday, we'll move into chapter 10, where Krishna starts describing his opulences, and it's like the devotion just keeps building. But this is chapter 9, and the most confidential knowledge, the essence of the essence of the essence. That's chapter 9 of the Bhagavad Gita. And this is Krishna's message for us all. Love me. And what does that love mean? Give me everything. Your heart, your mind, your body. And I will give you, the return on investment is 100 times. We saw that in the last section, the mercy he just pours down. If we just try. If we just try. So what do you all think? Aaron, can we get a birthday reflection from you?
You can get a birthday question from me to you. Um, so I'm curious. Well, I have a couple questions, but I'm curious, like the verse about the devotee, declare boldly that a devotee is never vanquished. Is that related to like the progress that you make in devotional life being like progress or like that you take from one life to another? Like, is that the sense of like what you do in devotion follows you, and in that sense you never vanquish? Is that what that's saying?
Yeah. So this when he says that, you'll never perish, he's not talking about the material body.
Mm-hmm.
He's talking, and it's specifically in reference to the verse before when it says, when he talk about how even so we have to consider somebody that slips to still be saintly, because what he's saying here is even if they slip, their yeah their progress is never lost. So it's
Yeah.
kind of a similar principle. It's a little bit of a different context in that in this progression, it's again, even if you slip, we still have to consider them saintly. Why? Because he'll make sure that they never perish. They'll make sure that they're not really going to fall away forever. It's just a temporary little blip. And
Hmm.
soon, because they have Krishna in their heart, the mental agitation, the emotional turbulence, the inner restlessness that caused the fall, it will settle because they have Krishna in their heart. So that's what he said. It's a similar principle,
Hmm.
that we don't, whatever progress we've made, we get to hold on to it. It doesn't fall away, but a little bit different context. Does that make sense?
It does. Yeah. No, I'm glad I asked because I feel like with a lot of these verses, it's like you said, there's so many levels to it, and I get it on one level, but then I immediately have like so many more questions. Um, and then another question, like, so you were saying, right, again, I get it on this level, the soul is pure. We're not actually cleaning the soul. And you're talking about like cleaning the mind.
Yeah.
Is that one to one the same as like cleaning the mirror of the heart? Is
Yeah.
that all related? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And
Yeah.
that's
It's just
the
breaking it
subtle
down a
body.
little bit more
Okay.
technically, but we're saying the similar things.
Okay.
Yeah, this yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Can I just ask, like, do you mean like the mirror of the mind is, I mean, the mirror of the soul that you're cleaning is like the mind is the mirror because that's what's being
Being
reflected
reflected back.
back,
Yes.
right?
Because
So
we have,
that's,
oh,
no,
yeah.
I'm sorry, like that's the function of the mind, kind of,
Yes.
in health.
Yes. Because we can imagine our soul, our body, our mind, our senses all in a row. And what we want, I'm doing it on the table, you guys can't see it. Our soul, our body, our mind, our senses all in a row. Or our intelligence is in there too, after our mind. Sorry. So our soul, our body, our mind, our intelligence, our senses, all in a row. And what we want is if these faculties are all clean and clear, the soul's consciousness will shine through like a flashlight and the
Mhm.
light won't be distorted. But if not, if we're not using our intelligence to connect to sastra and in that way, trying to that way kind of cleaning these faculties, what happens is our senses impact the thing, it all goes this way. And so whatever we see in our senses looks good. Our intelligence says, or our mind says, yeah, I want that. Our intelligence says, okay. Our intelligence gets kind of hijacked, and then it goes backwards. It's impacting the soul. So this is why it's so important to do things like spiritual practices, study sastra. We have to keep these faculties clean and fit so that they serve the soul and don't serve the senses because they're going to serve something. It just depends on which way it goes. If they're not fit, they're going to serve the senses. Whatever we get from the senses that looks good, it's gonna come this way and impact the soul. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that is like an amazing, my mind is blown by that. I like just to have that visual of like, the lenses, um, all be, oh, like in a telescope or whatever. Like it could go either
Yes.
way, and like one end of the telescope makes it really small and one makes it really big. Like, we want it to be the biggest vision, uh, you know, that the soul can see. I love that. Thank you. I've never thought of it that way. That was great.
Yeah, I love that one too. I stole that technical explanation from Chaitanya Charan, and I
Yeah.
just I totally love it also.
Thank you, Hare Krishna. I gotta go.
He's going to
Thank
Well,
you.
PT. Bye,
Where?
Connie.
What color
Physical
PT?
therapy.
Oh, okay. Best of luck.
Yeah, he wrote something in here though,
Oh, he
Oh,
did.
let's
which
read
I
it.
thought was really nice. He wrote, "Thank you, Radha, for the gift of this chapter through the lens of your consciousness. A mango sweetened even further by the parrot's beak."
Oh,
That
nice.
is so beautiful. I read that. I was like, oh my gosh. Um,
He's
can I share
kind and
something?
merciful. He's kind and merciful.
Yeah.
Yes,
It's
please.
true. It's true.
Um, so yeah, like so Stella, that's kind of why I was like the mind, the soul, the heart. I was like kind of going back and forth. And
40.
at the end of the day, like the fact that like and Radha knows like what's going on with me this year. With like literally just happened. Happenstance that I'm here, that I'm going on a retreat, bhakti retreat, then I'm going to the Bhaktivedanta Manor for 3 months. And it's like, how did that happen? That is Krishna's mercy. Because like I like and when you say it's from the heart, that's where my crying comes in because my heart is so touched by Krishna's mercy, allowing me to to be a better version of myself. Like knowing that I want to live from the soul and not from the mind. All the
Mm,
craziness that my mind gives me that I feel like it's one of those like choo 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 choo. It's like just shooting things at me and I'm like, shut up, and
mm,
it's really hard to get it to quiet and so like being here, that's why it came up and I was so emotional because it, I'm allowed to, it helps me, right? And it's so, I feel like all the things that I'm gonna go through in the next few months are gonna, like these verses that you have, though, as I keep going, I'll have more of these verses, more of these reflections to reflect back so that I can get out of here and live from here, like the heart and the
mm,
soul, like because here just makes me out of my mind. It
mm,
makes me crazy. She doesn't like me. Like I'm literally talking about that I'm going to the manor and a dear friend says to me, "Oh my God, when are you going to be there? I want to come see you. I want to see you. I'm going to give you an awkwardly long hug." Like, and I'm thinking, like, I didn't think she really liked me. Like, I don't think anyone really likes me. Like, that's the problem,
mm,
and that's me just being really real. I'm sorry, I don't know why that even came out.
mm,
But yeah, it's like just thinking you're not likable, thinking you're
mm,
not, what you have to say is not important. Like, I don't know if anyone else has that, but
mm,
those things come from the mind. They come solely from the mind. They don't come
mm,
from the heart. They don't come from the soul. And so if you can clean this and move away from all of that horrible thoughts, negative messages, if you can clean that, then you can live directly from here. Because I believe my soul and my heart, like you always
mm.
say, I have, what do you say? I have good intentions, or I have,
You're
like, I
sincere.
don't know, but like, because I lead from here. But when
Mm,
I'm not in association, when I'm not in the right place, I lead from here. And then
mm,
I go and I get into a cycle.
mhm.
I don't know if anyone else does that, but
You're aware of
Everybody,
it though,
Shakti.
Shakti. You're aware of it. That's like the first step in the battle of defeating that is you're
yeah,
aware. So many people aren't even aware of that and they it just runs loose, but you're aware and you're trying to rein it in like a wild horse, but at least you
yeah.
have reins now. You have reins and it's got a bit in its mouth. You can try to stop that horse.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. That's the battle of the mind. Plays tricks on us. This is why we have to come back again and again. It's a battle. We've exposed ourselves to so many years of conditioning, lifetimes and lifetimes of conditioning from material energy. It's just to think about, we what this one lifetime, just give this one lifetime to Krishna, just one lifetime of devotee association, hearing the names, hearing the holy names, coming to classes like this, learning sastra, what that can do. We've given so many lives to conditioning. Let's just try giving this one life to something different, to the process of spiritual elevation. and see what happens.
Hare Krishna. Radha, you just
Yes.
got to explaining it to Shakti in 922, how Krishna will carry or give us what we're lacking. So, Shakti, please
Yes.
have more confidence in yourself, love yourself, because Krishna loves you. And one thing that I've learned is that Krishna accepts us where we are. And it looks like you're really diving deep into finding your space. And, just like I really appreciate how, Radha, you explained the summary so well, 922. I love that verse. Krishna is going to give us he's going to emphasize the best points and then fill us up with what we lack. I just wanted to say
Yes.
that.
Thank you.
Perfect.
Thank you for saying that. No, I believe it. That's why I'm here. I'm here for, I like left my husband, my son's coming home, and I'm like, see you. I'm going to New Vrindavan for 6 weeks, 5 weeks. Then I'm coming home, and then I'm leaving again for 3 months. So it's like it's what I know I need to, like, I'm just in a place where like I'm so sick and tired of it. You get sick and tired of being sick and tired. It's like I just don't want to listen to the narrative anymore. We all have that, whatever the narrative is. I don't want to listen to it anymore. Like, shut up, be quiet, like go away. That's kind of how I feel. But it's easier to say, go away. It's easier to say that than really actually do it. Now I found many ways to ground, but I want longer times, right? Not just the day, not just the week. I want to be a month, and I'm not trying to do that.
Shakti, your journey is all of our journeys. We are all stuck in material conditioning, different levels, different struggles, but that's why we're here. That's why we're even in this material world. So yours is maybe really loud and violent. That's great impetus for spiritual growth. But at the end of the day, it's everybody's story, because that's why we're here. So thank you for your determination and sincerity and inspiring all of us in that.
Thank you for your what's the word? Like for always listening and always inspiring me to be a better version of myself.
This is the Gita in action.
It really is.
This is the
That's
Gita
what
in
this group
action.
is, the Gita in action.
That's what we're
Good
doing.
stuff. It really is. I just want to say one last thing is that what you said, like you're really deep in it, because when it comes here and there, you kind of just wash it away. But mine finally got to the point where it was like yelling at me. And I needed that yelling at me to be like, okay, you know what? Hun, I need to do this. I need to do this, and I need to do this. And my husband said, okay, if that's what you need to do, you do that. I support you.
That yelling is Krishna's mercy. And the nice
Yeah.
husband is Krishna's mercy.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Shakti.
I
Thank
love
you,
you
everyone.
all.
Thank you.